Thank you for joining the Best Practices for Plan Submissions training. We hope that this training will guide designers to include pertinent information in stormwater, erosion sediment control, and green area ratio plan submissions so plan reviewers can efficiently review plans and reduce the amount of comments. This training was developed because plan reviewers found that submittals had similar errors and misunderstandings. This training assumes some basic understanding of stormwater ESC and GAR regulations and the guidebooks. I recommend watching or attending the other overview trainings prior to this one if you're not familiar with these. So first we'll go over the background, purpose, and general plan comments. For a plan reviewer, they would typically first go through and review the plans to understand the overall project. The drawing should be clear and easy to understand, and all required pieces should be included. The plan reviewer will verify that the data and the general compliance data, which is outputted from SGS, or the GAR score sheet, match the information on the plans and calculations were done correctly. Some items that are checked include the site drainage area, the contributing drainage area, and their correlating land cover, the storage volume calculations, drainage area delineation, detention requirements, and the sewer shed. Plan reviewers will also check that each BMP or GAR element meets the design requirements as stated in the guidebook. Here are some common general plan comments plan reviewers have provided in the past. Plans submitted should be at least 90% design, unless it is an MEP project in the public right-of-way. If there is land disturbance in the public right-of-way that is not exempt, it must use the MEP process as shown in Appendix B of the guidebook. BMPs typically cannot straddle property lines, for example, over public and private property. And then all stormwater sheets should be in one PDF set. Provided here is an example of a very easy plan for plan reviewers to review. Everything is clearly marked with different line types and hatching and legends. So a plan reviewer can easily tell, one underdrain pipe from the water main pipe, or the outline of the building versus the outline of the LOD. In this example, it's the opposite. It's very difficult for a plan reviewer to understand what the lines are representing. For both of these plans, there are lines that are the same thickness and types that are not labeled or differentiated. So it's very difficult for a plan reviewer to know if the line is concrete, the line is water main pipe, or the line is an LOD. So having clearly defined lines and line types are very helpful for plan reviewers. Additionally, here are some other examples of bad plans. One common issue on plan sets is to have overlapping layers that obscure information under it, such as spot elevations. So being mindful when you print sheets to make sure that everything is legible is important. And then illegible references are also not allowed on plans. A common misunderstanding is when utility trenches are exempt from stormwater management. This slide shows images from the Stormwater Guidebook about utility exemptions. For the one on the top, the building in green and the entire trench are included in the LOD. This trench is only necessary for utility connections. The remainder of the right-of-way is not included in the LOD. Because the right-of-way is only disturbed for the utility, it can be exempt from stormwater management. Now, the piece of trench inside the building that is in blue is not exempt, as that portion would have likely been within the LOD regardless of the utility. The next image on the bottom shows an example with construction occurring at the building and the sidewalk. So the entire building and sidewalk are within the LOD. The public right-of-way is disturbed for the project, so the sidewalk would need to meet the MEP. That little portion that was exempt in the previous example is no longer exempt since that portion would have been disturbed regardless of the utility trench. So that area is right here. So all of this blue area within the entire LOD, which is here, is not exempt. This area that is not within the LOD is exempt from stormwater management. Here are some common items that may be required to be on the plan set. They can be found on the DOEE or DCRA website. The signed and sealed statement by professional engineer, as-built, and the as-built certification by professional engineer, or at least that block. These two are required for stormwater management plans, and all of the other ones may be required depending on your project. Next, we will go over sheet-specific comments in general and stormwater management plans. Here are common plan sheets provided in stormwater management plans. Not all of them are required and it's very project dependent, but these are just the typical ones that are included. So here's an example cover sheet, and we'll go over the pieces that should be included. First, there should be a blank area in the upper left corner for DOE stamps. There should be a vicinity map, lot and square number, index of sheets, building permit number if there is one, PE signature and stamp, and then the project narrative. So the next sheet typically is the existing conditions. You should show the property line on this sheet, the north arrow and scale, legends including all line types and hatching, and include existing buildings, trees, utilities, and other important infrastructure around the LOD. If there are special and heritage trees around, you have to show the critical root zone, which is 1.5 feet radius per inch of diameter breast height. And this is if a special or heritage tree is in or near the LOD. So next sheet I'll talk about is demolition. You may or may not have this sheet in your plans. One other note is if demolition was done on a different stormwater management plan, so say it was submitted earlier on a different plan and then the construction is on this newer plan, make sure you include the demolition plan number in there. And then there should be erosion sediment control for demolition. Obviously depends on what your demolition is. If there is land disturbance, there should be erosion sediment control. You should include the LOD and property line on the sheet, and you should include that for all stormwater and erosion sediment control sheets. And then if there are special and heritage trees, you should coordinate with Urban Forestry Division. The next sheet is utility and utility profiles. A lot of times the utility sheet and the profile sheets are on different sheets, which is fine. So in the utility profile, you can include the BMP utilities on their sheet if you would like. It can help the plan reviewers, but if it's a very complex utility sheet, it might not be super clear. And then on the utility sheet, we should be able to differentiate the different utility types and the locations of the different utilities. For the utility profile, there should be the 15-year hydraulic grade line for all the stormwater pipes connected to BMPs. The next sheet we have is grading. It's important to provide enough information to verify the site drainage area, contributing drainage area, placement of erosion sediment control, and to show that there will be no downstream flooding. You can use contour lines or spot elevations to show this. So our next sheet is stormwater management. It's important to note that the information in each sheet really depends on the size of the project, and this information can be split onto various sheets if needed. So include the stormwater management narrative, storage volume calculations, the compliance data sheets. So these sheets come from SGS, and the plan reviewers will check the timestamp, which is on the lower left corner of your compliance data sheet, and they'll check this timestamp with the compliance data sheets found on SGS. So it's best to make sure that SGS is correct when you print these sheets so that you paste the latest sheets onto your plan set. Next, labeling the site drainage area and delineating it correctly is very helpful for a plan reviewer to check. Also, labeling the BMPs on your plans with the BMP ID that is given to that BMP in SGS is very helpful and useful for the plan reviewer to make sure that all of the BMP information is correctly entered. So here's a summary of all of the items that should be included on your existing conditions. Make sure you have the property line, existing buildings, trees, and other important infrastructure. On the demolition plans, you should have the LOD, and if demolition is on a different submitted plan, provide that plan number, and include erosion sediment control if necessary for demolition. In the utilities, you can include the BMP utilities on this sheet. For utility profile, you should include the 15-year hydraulic grade lines on storm sewer profiles, and they should not be above the pipe. For your grading sheets, include enough detail to verify site drainage area, contributing drainage area, and placements of erosion sediment control, and show enough detail to verify that grade changes will not cause flooding in neighboring lots. For your site plans, it's important to include details to understand exactly what is being proposed on the project and how stormwater management is being proposed as well. So to summarize what should be on stormwater management sheets, there should be a stormwater narrative, label the BMPs with the ID given in the SGS, show that detention requirements are achieved. That's typically shown on the compliance data sheet, but if it's not met on the compliance data sheet, you should provide a narrative. You should show the storage volume calculations, the compliance data sheets with the timestamp, and delineations of contributing drainage area and site drainage area.